What's up guys, and welcome to another video, and today I will be comparing the X10 versus the Xtreme 2. And this is actually a more interesting comparison than the X10 versus the Xtreme 3. Of course, you could say, yeah, it's a budget against a more expensive speaker, and it's so cool that the X10 can keep up at higher volumes. Not necessarily at lower volumes, as you could probably see, but at higher volumes. It could definitely keep up and actually be better than the Xtreme 3. So I guess the conclusion of that comparison is that sometimes you get what you buy, but not always, and sometimes the cheaper alternative is the better one. But they are still two different worlds apart, I would say. Not size-wise, but in general in price and whatnot, and what they're capable of in general. But of course, it's a cool comparison still with the price and the quality and whatnot, to weigh those categories against each other. But these speakers right here, they're actually about the same price and about the same weight class as well. 2.4 kilos, 2.5 against 3.1 kilos. So they are about the same. You get 15,000 milliampere battery, you get 10,000, or yeah, like 42 watts and 33 watt hour battery on the Xtreme. 70 watts output, that doesn't mean anything, because the Motion Boom, for example, is another speaker I have. It got 30 watts, but it outperforms the Xtreme 2. That's also a 30 watt speaker, and it's much louder and has more bass. So wattage, don't hang up on that, because it doesn't really matter. But the Xtreme 2 is a 30 watt speaker and 40 watts when it's plugged in to the wall. Okay, so this is interesting because the Xtreme 2 is still relevant right now, because they have the gray metal jacked version of the Xtreme 2. Which is the, I don't know, they re-released the speaker to make it more affordable and more mainstream, so everybody that can't afford the Xtreme 3 or is not in that position, they can buy the metal jacket one. So I guess it makes sense in a business point. But then they get much tighter rivals right now. For example, the W King X10. This right here is actually the W King X10-1. But this does not currently exist anymore, because the X10 has now, they released first the X10, then they replaced the X10 with the X10-1, and then they now have the X10. The X10 and X10-1 are not compatible in stereo mode. You must have an X10 to pair with another X10, or an X10-1 to pair with another X10-1. Hopefully that made sense. Not sure. Maybe I talked a little bit too fast. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, please leave a comment down below. And yeah, let's continue with the battle. Same price, same weight, but does the Xtreme 2 hold up against the X10? That's really the question I'm asking myself here. So let's begin. I'll begin with indoor comparison, and then I'll go out and play music to maximum volume, and then a conclusion at the end. So let's begin with the X10 at playing around 30% volume, around there. Xtreme playing around 40%, I would say. X10. Xtreme 2. Let's move it to the side a little bit. There we go. X10. Xtreme 2. X10. Oh, it actually had the EQ mode on. So now it's without EQ mode, which sounds better on the X10. Xtreme 2. X10. Let's fast forward a bit. Xtreme 2. X10. I turned up the volume on the X10 by 1 step to make it a little bit more comparable. Xtreme 2. Xtreme 2. X10. Okay, let's switch the song. Let's see what song I'm going for next. I think I already looked up which song, but might not remember. Oh, this was the one. X10 playing. I'm gonna go back a little bit so you can hear the bass better, hopefully. Xtreme 2 playing. X10. Lowered the volume a bit on the X10. Around 30% still. Xtreme 2. X10. Xtreme 2. X10 playing. Xtreme. X10. Xtreme. X10. Yeah, and I'm gonna hold there for now, and hopefully you made up your mind. I certainly have made up my mind when it comes to this indoor set, so let's head outdoors and check these speakers out. So yeah, let's begin with the W King X10, and of course there is quite a bunch of people walking past, so that's why I cut off a little bit there. So let's begin, and we'll play Tobus 7 track. The W King is playing now. And this is the Xtreme 2. It's playing around 60%, while the W King is playing 50. Here's the W King. Here's the Xtreme 2. I might actually get up the volume a little bit more, so around 70% now, a little bit less. W King. Xtreme 2. W King. We're gonna switch songs right now. Still the W King playing. I have now it's playing around 60%, a little bit less, the W King. Xtreme 2. Actually quite hard to match volumes. W King. Xtreme 2. King. Okay, so that was around 60-70% volume for both speakers. As you could probably hear, the Xtreme 2 did a better job, but I'll go over more of that in the summary. And now I will begin to show you guys the 100%. And let's see if I can step back a little bit further. See, so you can get a sense of how much these speakers can, like how big area they can fill up. Okay, so now it's around maybe 6 meters. Hard to tell. Maybe less. Let's say 5 meters. So okay, dog behind me. Okay, interesting. Let's see here, and I'll begin with another song. Okay. This is the W King, and I'm playing maximum volume. This is the Xtreme 2. Maximum volume. W King. Xtreme 2. W King. Another song now. Let's see. This is gonna be the last song. Vitality, Electromania. Let's see. Xtreme 2. W King. Xtreme 2. W King. Xtreme 2. Let's go a little bit closer actually so you can hear their bass response a bit more. One more. This last one. W King. Xtreme 2. W King. Xtreme 2. Okay, and I think I'm gonna hold that for now, and yeah, let's go back and do the summary parts. So see you guys. Okay, so what is the actual conclusion of this comparison between the X10, and this is the X10-1, but it should sound the same as the X10, but I will just mention that this is the X10-1, and of course the X10 is a bit better. It got faster charging and a little bit bigger battery, so that's something to keep in mind. And okay, so I'm gonna go over a couple of notes that I've taken, and let's begin size-wise. This weighs over 3 kilograms, 3.1. This weighs 2.4. So the Xtreme 2 is more portable than the X10, definitely. This is a bigger speaker, not by much, but it is noticeable, definitely. And when it comes to like protection and whatnot, you get IPX7 with the Xtreme 2, and you get IPX6 with the X10. So you can't have this underwater, but you can do that with the Xtreme 2, and it also floats. Charging and whatnot ports. This X10 has USB-C right there that you can charge with, and a micro SD card playback, and a USB-A out, and an aux. The Xtreme 2 only has a so-called barrel charger, or whatever you want to call it, so you can't use USB-C. You get an out port and a headphone jack as well. So port design wise, the X10 is definitely way better right there with the USB-C and whatnot. way more convenient. Battery size, you get around 33 watt hours with the Xtreme 10 or 10,000 milliamp hours, and you get 15,000 milliamp hour with the X10, or around, what is it, I don't know actually what that is in, let's say 50 watts. I don't remember actually, no, don't quote me on that. And the X10-1 has 13,400 milliamp hour, but you can't buy the X10-1 anymore. You could only do that under the pandemic for a bit. I think you can at least not buy it. But so you get a bigger battery, and you also get better battery life with the X10. Especially even if you're pushing the speakers and whatnot, because the X10 is just louder at all the volumes. So that's something to keep in mind. You get a charger actually with the Xtreme 2. You only get the charging cable and an aux cable with the W King. So you need a charging brick or something to keep that going. But it got USB-C, so that's quite convenient. Anything more? Design-wise, you get a wrist strap. I think both are pretty similar. I'm not gonna comment on those anymore. Anything else? They both got passive radiators. The X10 got 3, 2 at the sides and 1 at the back, and the Xtreme 2 has 2 passive radiators. This is a 70 watt speaker, and this is a 40 watt speaker while it's plugged in, and 30 watts when it's not plugged in. So the X10 is basically twice the amount of wattage than the Xtreme 2. Yes, and now for the sound. Indoors, I think it's a quite clean sweep by the Xtreme 2. It sounds clearer. Of course, it got its flaws. It doesn't have a very deep bass, and the mids and whatnot, they tend to get, I don't know, there isn't really any range in them. Of course, this is a portable speaker, but that's something to keep in mind, that it's a really decent sound, and in some regards better than the Xtreme 3. But also keep in mind that the Xtreme 2 doesn't have the widest soundstage and instrument separation. But the X10 sounds much worse indoors, I'd say. Like it's not close. The sound is not very dynamic, which means that the bass it doesn't hit this. It's not like it doesn't stand out from the rest. It's just muddy. It just doesn't feel the punch or anything at lower volumes. You do that though with the higher volumes, but indoors you might not push it to max. I had it around 30, if I remember correctly, and it doesn't sound impressive at all. It lacks highs. It's a bit. I mean, it got plenty of mids. I guess that's something to keep in mind, but it's generally just feels closed. No distortion, but closed sound, narrow, I'd say, actually quite narrow, and it doesn't seem to be as clear and get that airiness that you get with the Xtreme 2. The Xtreme 2, if you compare it to the Xtreme 3, also lacks kind of air in general, and that clear sound that you really need outdoors especially. But indoor, even though it isn't a perfect, of course, it still outperforms the X10, I'd say, indoors. Okay, so let's talk about outdoors. At around 60% volume, I'd say that I had the Xtreme 2 a little bit higher than the X10, because the X10 plays louder. And at around there, say 60% for the Xtreme, 70% for the Xtreme, and around 60 for the X10. I think the Xtreme 2 kind of wins out, because the bass is still more dynamic. You can feel the bass more, while it just sounds really like boomy. It isn't dynamic at all. It doesn't stand out from the rest, and the sound in general is quite close on the X10, but it's starting to get a little bit closer at 60%, because you can feel that the X10 has more power to the sound. if that makes sense, than the Xtreme 2, even at 60% volume. I don't know, it kind of you can kind of feel that the bass is there is more bass on the X10 at 60% volume than the Xtreme 2, but you don't really, it's not it's just doesn't stand out at all. Like, you can't hear the punches as noticeably as on the Xtreme 2. Hopefully you guys were able to hear that, but let me know in the comment section. And for the last thing is maximum volume outdoors, and this is where the X10 shines. I've used the X10 on beaches, for example, playing volleyball and whatnot, and it's very good at that. I don't know if there's any other, or there is probably better speakers, but between these I'd take the X10, because the X10 you can crank it really fucking high. It kind of distorts a bit, but you can play it really loud at actually quite a long play time as well. It kind of, yeah, as I said, distorts a little bit, but then it actually starts to sound dynamic, more dynamic than the Xtreme 2, because the Xtreme 2 starts to limit bass at 80% volume, while the X10 it just goes up and up and up. And you can, even though it's not a deep bass sound on the X10, you get more of a punch. You still you got enough punch and deep bass to keep you satisfied at 100% volume, so you can still hear the bass from a distance, while the Xtreme 2 loses out quite fast. It just sounds bright, nothing more. You can hear a little bit of vocals, but nothing else. While the X10, you can hear the mid-range is really present, whilst of course the highs are a bit lacking, but it really goes into its own when it's at 100% volume, and I think weirdly enough, that's the sweet spot. For JBL speakers, it's usually around 80%, but for this speaker, it's yeah, 100%, I'd say. But that's not always the case. You won't, if you're indoors much and you're having like a picnic or something, you don't want this. You don't want X10 maxed out. It's more if you're with a lot of people and whatnot and gathering around and yeah, enjoying music, then it's better. So it's kind of a toss-up right now. I think the price-wise, the X10 is a little bit cheaper in general, especially depends where you live, of course. And the X10, yeah, it's in general cheaper than the Xtreme. But for me, it's actually around the same price. I think I purchased them for around the same price. Yeah, it's really a toss-up if you want the loud, powerful sound of the X10, or if you want a bit more indoors favored, maybe a little bit better designed speaker, I'd say. But at the same time, you get better battery life, more powerful sound, USB-C and whatnot. So there's actually quite a lot that favors the X10. But that's just my view on this, my take on the speaker comparison. Of course, it depends on what kind of tracks you like to hear. I kind of modern music kind of sounds better on the Xtreme 2, while older tracks kind of actually sounds better on the X10. Of course, the Xtreme 2 sounds better in general, but that's something to keep in mind, that the tracks that speakers are dependent on what kind of music you play. And I only use no copyright sounds, so that's kind of, yeah, not a very I guess very good comparison in that regard if you listen to more genres and whatnot. So gotta keep that in mind. Yeah, that's all. Thank you for watching and hear me rambling about specifications and whatnot on these speakers. Of course, I got a boombox there in the background, boombox 2, that I got for a good price. So I'm gonna go and do some speaker comparisons in the future with that. But for now, thank you for watching and stay tuned to the next videos, and cheers.